if you want. Cathcart Technologies, so we are a tech recruitment specialist, headquartered in Edinburgh, founded there in 2009, and now we recruit across Scotland, England, Finland and Thailand. We're about to open up in Sweden as well for the first time. So we're purely focused on tech, so anything within the tech industry, from software development to QA to data, and then more hands-off stuff like CTOs and software development managers and things like that. Recruit for companies of all sizes, so hiring people's first engineer, as well as working with Amazon, Skyscanner, companies like that, and then we do it across both permanent and more like short-term contracts as well. Me specifically, I studied international business management at RGU, so I know Aberdeen well. I graduated in 2019 and I've been working with Cathcart since then, obviously doing kind of tech recruitment. My focus is on perm roles in Scotland, and specifically I do front-end development, mobile development and design. I also host a tech podcast as well, based in Scotland, which is called How I Built This, and then I also volunteer for the Tech Meetup in Edinburgh, which I think Franklin was saying he's going to try to set one up in Aberdeen as well, which is exciting. So he asked me to cover accelerating your potential in the tech space. Basically I thought to split it into 5 different kind of sections, and I can chat you through all of them and kind of give what I've come up with. Putting in the groundwork and knowing your market, networking and soft skills, the importance of that, internships, placements, continuous learning, emerging technologies, and then navigating the job market as well. Putting in the groundwork, I think this is something that people might overlook, and it kind of touches on what Andy was saying downstairs, about just having knowledge of the market, rather just sending your CV to everywhere and getting lots of rejections. Is having more of that kind of strategic approach to it. So even before you start a course or start a specific university or location, I think you actually need to have a think about and have a look into what businesses are actually in this area. If you are studying or want to study data, and there's barely any data companies in Aberdeen, for example, I don't know if that's the case or not, then it's not the kind of best idea. You might be better studying in a different location, for example like Glasgow. They've got lots of data companies. Having knowledge of that prior is really important. Once you've kind of worked out in an area what types of businesses there are, what kind of people do they hire for? So have they got a massive team of software developers, or do they have a massive team of data engineers? What's the kind of popularity of that within the kind of city or within the location? It's a really good thing to kind of think of and look into as well, just because, again, if you study a data course and there's not really many data jobs, you're going to struggle to get a job after completing the course. Also things to kind of look into, types of companies that hire graduates, what kind of graduates they hire as well, whether it's software, whether it's QA, really kind of earmarking them from the very kind of beginning and knowing who hires graduates, just so that you can really target yourself to kind of tailor your experience, tailor everything that you're studying to these kind of companies. Once you know these companies, you can then put yourself in a much better position, and you can then start to almost kind of target them. them. So follow them on LinkedIn, connect with hiring managers, anybody that's tech related, maybe kind of keep an eye on them in the news, that kind of thing. And once you start engaging with them overall and continuously engaging with them, you know what they're up to, what products they're bringing out, that kind of thing. Then yeah, it just puts you in a better position, and you kind of start to get your foot in the door almost. So that kind of leads us on to the kind of networking, which I've kind of touched on there. So yeah, once you know what you kind of want from your career, you've kind of looked into cities, you've looked into what companies are hire graduates, what kind of people that they hire for, what tech they work with, and then you can start to kind of tailor your own experience and your studying and stuff to that. So like I said, I kind of mentioned it, identifying companies that you like, you maybe like the product that they're doing, you like the tech which they're working with, and really try and kind of get to know them as a company, get to know people in the company, like all their posts on LinkedIn, just try and kind of spark up conversations and kind of get networks within these companies. It's a really kind of powerful thing. Obviously tech events and business events as well. Find out what's in your area. Try and attend these as much as possible. A lot of people, it's very easy to get FaceTime with people in these scenarios, and as a lot of people will know, it's quite hard to get FaceTime with people if you're just messaging them on LinkedIn or you're emailing them. It's quite a hard thing to do. And in terms of this as well, like the more people you know, the better. Like you're having a specific connection or meeting somebody is never going to be a bad thing for you. So just try and kind of do that as much as possible. Obviously, when you put yourself out there in these situations, you'll naturally improve your soft skills, and that's an important part of it as well, being able to kind of chat to people and really improving that. I'd say one of the biggest things that employers look for is somebody like doing all certificates and extra courses and stuff like that is all great, and that will help, but the main thing that people look for is somebody that's got some sort of commercial experience of somewhat. So internships and placements, I would say, are the most important thing in terms of what can help you stand out. For example, I did a placement when I was at university. I went and worked as a marketing manager for a hotel. So would really try and get some sort of kind of internship or placement that you can do. One thing that I've kind of said to people as well, specifically for my market, you would be able to adapt it to other markets. I'm maybe not as knowledgeable in that, but for example, if you're a UXer, you don't have any commercial experience, but you're trying to get commercial experience, find a website of a company that you interact with, or if it's the golf club that you play for, going to them and saying, I'll do a UX review on your website, if you can then let me use that as my part of my portfolio. It then gives you some industry experience of actually going and actually doing it. You can put something on your CV to say, oh, this is what I've done, this is what I've changed. And yeah, it just shows like real life examples of actual creative work, rather than just that you can do these things. It's kind of showing that you're doing them, and it's kind of showing that you're putting yourself out there with it as well. So something that I think is really important as well. Once you start to get internships and placements, it really opens the door for companies, whatever company that you do work for. It means that I think the percentage of people that eventually join a company that they've done an internship for, or they've done a placement with is really, really high, because they've seen how you work, they know what skills you can bring, so there can be a job waiting for you there. But not only that, if you said that you've worked with this employer and you've had this internship and this is what you've delivered, then other companies will see that, and they'll be impressed by it as well. So the thing with internships and placements as well, it really kind of expands your network. For example, if you're maybe earlier on in your studying and you do something with or you work with a manager, and then that manager moves on to a different company, you can open the door to a different company as well, not only just the company that you've done a bit of work with, as well as lots of other people that you work with as well, who maybe move on to other companies and start their own business. You'll have that kind of FaceTime with them, you'll have that connection and network with them that you can then use and utilise yourself. So yeah, I would say this is internships and placements are the most important one in my opinion. Continuous learning and emerging tech, should never stop learning. The more you can offer to a company, the better position you can put yourself in, and it does really kind of show a great attitude. So whether that's learning kind of new tech, keeping an eye out on kind of emerging tech as well, especially when new tech is coming out, it's obviously not a lot of people have got experience of it, so it's somewhere that you could maybe really kind of have a niche for yourself. For example, like I know for on the programming side of things, one of the big demands at the moment that we are seeing is like Rust engineers, but there's so little people that actually have the experience of it. So Flutter is another one that's been kind of become more popular, and if you really get yourself in at the very beginning of it where nobody else knows how to use it, then yeah, you can really capitalise on that. And yeah, the thing with it as well is when these new kind of tech comes out and it is so niche, the money that companies pay for it is crazy. So you can really do well with that. So yeah, really gonna recommend like keeping an eye on emerging tech, and what other things you can add to your kind of skill set that could be useful, or even doing other things. If you're a software developer, learning about testing and adding that to your skill set as well, adding a little bit of maybe BI development and how that can add in as well. So just little things that will help you understand the kind of tech and teams on a wider scale as well is something that can be really beneficial. So in terms of navigating the job market, it is really tough, and the market specifically at the moment is really tough. Obviously with the economy, everything that's been going on, and all the kind of bad press about redundancies and stuff, it's a tough market out there, and especially for kind of graduates. The main thing, which Andy touched on as well, is having that kind of structure to your application process, and being organised is one of the kind of main things I think is important. So kind of touches back to what I was saying earlier about really trying to look at what companies are suited to you in terms of technologies you've worked with, in terms of whether they hire grads, how many people they bring through, that kind of thing, and really putting more effort into getting yourself in front of them rather than just sending out 20 applications to random companies that might work, might not. Most of the time doesn't kind of work. So I remember when I was first applying for jobs, I had a spreadsheet of every job that I applied for, what date I applied for it, what I liked about it, because then, for example, if somebody from that company phones you out of the blue and they ask you, do you remember what you applied for, do you remember anything about the company, and if you don't have anything to say, it can put you in a really learner. So yeah, I would say with kind of that as well as really having a structure to the job applications as well. So really put a lot of effort into specific companies and roles rather than just having a blanket CV that goes out to everyone, and make it really specific to that company, even putting in your CV, I'm applying for this position and this company because I think it suits this, and this, and that kind of can really work as well. Obviously, once you've kind of found out these companies, you like look of, you know that they're hiring a big loads of grads at the moment. We try and connect with people, like I kind of mentioned earlier, but anybody that's kind of remotely relevant, whether that's obviously if it's a software developer role, for example, trying to connect with CTOs, hiring managers, but also kind of talent acquisition and HR, and anyone in the business really. Like the more, it goes back to that thing, the more connections you have, the easier it's going to be for you, and no connection's a bad connection. And even, for example, we do a lot of kind of like business development with my role. There's been times where I've just tried to make friends. I wasn't getting any replies or any kind of sort of communication from the people that I wanted to speak to. So you try and make friends inside that organisation who can then connect you, and then it really kind of helps open the door for you. One thing, as specifically for kind of graduates, I wouldn't rely on recruitment agencies. For example, Cathcart, I would say that probably like 10% of our roles, maybe even less than that, are actually like graduate roles. We can help with things like CVs and how to position yourself and stuff like that, but we tend to not actually get too many kind of graduate roles, and when companies are kind of looking for us to help them with hiring, it's more on the kind of experience side of things. So yeah, it can be quite hard, so I wouldn't rely on recruitment agencies. I would definitely try and have some connections, and have people kind of like review your CV, get your CV reviewed off of peers and stuff like that as well. Is definitely something that helps, but I wouldn't kind of completely rely on it. Then once you kind of get the interviews, it's all about preparation and follow-ups. So I would say over prepare, whether that's doing kind of dummy interviews with your family or somebody that you work with or study with. Get to know the company inside out, so know everything about them in the news, know all the kind of software products they've brought out, just anything, any schemes that they have, anything that shows that you've done your research, is something that people will really appreciate. Once you've had interviews as well, it's a really good idea to follow up, and rather than waiting for them to come back to you, you can send emails just saying how good the opportunity is, how you really like it, how you had really enjoyed meeting with people, you're really keen to hear next steps. These are really good things to kind of do after interviews, just to kind of reiterate the point that you're super interested in. For example, if it's a graduate role where they have 10 interviews, if you're the only one that's followed up that said, thanks, I had such a nice time, I really enjoyed meeting you, that kind of helps you stand out. And with interviews, like actually doing interviews, it becomes a skill set. It's not an easy thing to just be good at, so you need to practice with interviews. So yeah, that's the kind of main thing, is trying to kind of improve that skill set, and the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. So yeah, that was the kind of main things. In terms of like key kind of takeaways, I would say that being organised and having a plan and structure to your job application process is really kind of crucial. You don't want to just be firing out loads of CVs. Make it really specific and really kind of target companies. Like I mentioned, do your best to get some real life commercial experience. So yeah, whether you can't get an internship or a placement, which is obviously the ideal, I would try and see if you can add to somebody's business. Do you know somebody that owns like a restaurant, and you can get a lot of experience by adding on some sort of marketing thing to them, or coming up with a small kind of system that they can use internally for their taking tables and stuff like that. Anything to just say that you've done something in a real life business is super important. Obviously keep up to date with trends in tech as well. And then, as I've kind of mentioned quite a few times, just networking as much as possible. The more people you know, the kind of better it's going to be for you, and the easier it is to get your foot in the door somewhere.
Okay. I have a question.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned internships, like kind of getting your foot into the door. Now, for a lot of people, the question will now be, do I place that on my CV? Because we're migrants coming from another country to the UK. We have loads of experience back home.
Yeah.
So if I, for example, I have interning for a charity or a startup, do I put that at the top of my CV? If you are recruiting for, let's say, UX or a software developer, and they say, oh, I'm interning for this startup brand as a software developer, as internship and my back experience, would that count? Would you look at that and say, okay, it doesn't matter, or would you be like, oh, he doesn't have enough experience, oh, then what is that?
Yeah, I think a lot of what companies will do is they'll look for people that will look for experience that is like based in the UK. For example, I have some clients that will say that people need to have UK experience. So I would say that probably the more, even though it's not as relevant in terms of the actual experience, having like that UK stuff at the top is probably better, rather than the other way around. Just because, if they see that at the top and they say startup Greg Aberdeen, then instantly they kind of know of that. So I would say probably having it at the top's better.
The other questions? I'm sorry. The other part of it is, does it matter if I put it as an internship, or I should just put in the role and the name of the company? Must I put in bracket internship, or I can just say, oh yes, Startup Brand Aberdeen, January to date, and then list out, all my key achievements?
I don't think it really matters too much, to be honest. It depends, if it is an internship or if it's like a contract role. I don't think it really matters too much. I think the more important part is the content of what you've done, how you've done it, what you've achieved, that kind of thing, rather than internship or not. Yeah.
Any questions? I hope I spoke your mind.
Most times, this internship role, as a software developer, they require starting age. Maybe they will say under 20, under 22 years, or that kind of a thing. So, how do you go about that?
Oh yeah, well I've never seen that, to be fair.
For graduate roles or for internships?
For internships.
Oh yeah. Sometimes there's age range, yes. For internships. They say they want somebody that has a second class upper, not more than 26 years. I see it weighs me down.
Yeah. I would, obviously, because I've not had experience of it, I'm not 100% sure, and I can't say anything that I know works. But what I would, if it was me, I would try and connect with the people that are posting their internships, or who are kind of looking after that, and seeing if you can almost get your application to them direct, rather than going through that and just sending their CV and then just ticking it off or like not meeting that requirement, I would maybe try and go direct with them and try and explain your situation a little bit more.
And so sometimes again, they will say that you must have lived in UK for 7 years, or that you must not be on graduate visa. As in, they put each course requirements and
Just ignore those ones.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, I think
that are collaborating where I registered. They
No.
always give me.
no.
See, they
No,
always
so
look
don't
for the
do
ones
that.
that are
So
collaborating.
I give an example. There's charity jobs with Code of UK. You can go and find jobs in charity. Charity jobs. Those Code of UK charity jobs. So you can find jobs in charity and
Find
then use
the job.
their jobs there. And you use that to start your pathway to tech. So I think that's not a major one, so that let's not focus on that. So I think you can always get your foot in.
Yeah.
You know, for internships. So my concern was just that other one. And the other thing that I also wanted to talk and mention is you do skill competence-based questioning during your interview. Is that correct?
Yeah.
For someone of your experience, how would you tell if the person has such competence during the interview, knowing fully well that you're not a cloud engineer, but you do recruit for tech roles? Can you just walk us through, what the process will be like?
Yes. Yeah, so we obviously we are not tech people, so we don't know the ins and outs. But having done it for 5 years, when you speak to somebody and you chat to them about their experience and stuff, you start to get to know the technologies. When you speak, people are talking about projects that they've worked with and how they've done it, you kind of understand it a little bit more. So I would say it's mainly through experience, rather than like I can't tell if how good you are with AWS, for example. I don't know that. And clients that we work with aren't relying on how good we present you for that. It's more have they worked with it, how have they worked with it in terms of like what they built or what infrastructure they set up. And then us relaying it to them in terms of what they're looking for and see what kind of matches up. So yeah, we would always like phone you and have like a screening call with you to go over your experience, what you've kind of done, how you used it, and try and kind of chat to you about it. And if we get the feeling from the chat that you've done everything that the client's looking for, then we would then send on your CV at that point.
Yeah, so the question I want to ask, I know that you guys have done a lot of tech recruitment stuff. What are those consistent roles? Like, let's achieve a trend here. We know that people that recruit, like maybe the big five, all of that, and there's some smaller startups do recruit. What are some of those consistent tech roles that are coming up that are in demand? I think that's the right word. That are in demand, because we have I've been here for 4 years plus. I found that the two universities, or almost universities in this country, they always create courses to meet the demands of industries. And if they are doing that, sometimes they do lost in terms of planning that kind of courses. But now, if the industry controls the kind of jobs that people are going to get, you have been working with Caltech stuff. Can you tell us most of the job roles that are in demand?
Yeah.
And the skills that people need to have to get those stuff?
Yeah, I think the biggest demand across all of our kind of locations is always software developers. I know that there seems to be a lot of with AI and everything in the kind of press and the news. There's still nowhere near as many jobs in AI and that kind of fields as there is in software development. That's the busiest. Software development, and mainly kind of like full stack and back end development are the kind of main areas that are kind of popular and most in demand always. In terms of tech, I would say kind of Java, C Sharp, probably the kind of two main ones that come up. I would say that they're the kind of most popular. We've had more cybersecurity roles come on in the last year, so that seems like an area that's really kind of picking up. So yeah, that's the kind of things that I'd say. Software development and back-end development are the kind of most sort of people.
Yeah, so sorry. So another thing that a lot of people focus too much on certification. Does certification really matter? For myself, I hate certification because of dude who just put programs online. You go and waste time to spend 6 or 7 months to collect one certificate and they cannot help you. Whereas if you know something and you look for a place to do intern, you'll have gotten practical experience.
Yeah.
Does certification matters? And if it matters, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just creating scenarios.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, I'm a geologist, right? Oh, you have seen it, right? I just said it before.
No. I said you're right. It's a good question.
Because a lot of people, like for instance, if I want to learn Java, I won't go to a Java school. I will only watch 5 hours YouTube channel. And once I watch 5 hours, or like there's blockchain, I want to watch 2 hours straight away channel. Once I watch that for 1 week, what I will need to go and do, go and solve a particular problem, put that in my CV. But whereas we have a guy who goes maybe AWS, certification, big book of stuff, all of that. So if I now send my application stuff to you guys, you see a nerd guy who just do something simple, right? And you see certification stuff. Which one?
I think employers always go on the actual like real life experience more than certifications. I think that is what people look for more than certifications. Obviously, certifications do help if you have both. That's amazing. That's the ideal scenario, because you can back up where you've learned it, but then you've put it into practice. But yeah, I would definitely say actual experience rather than certifications.
Thank you, Jack. So, what do you guys?
You spoke about the software development and the back end development. I thought back end is part of software development.
Yeah.
Are they different?
No, they're the same.
I know.
Yeah.
No, they are the same. The front, the front end is what will look like. The design is there. The back end, but
I know. I read it. Because he mentioned software.
I think we're just explaining.
And I later said back end. So I'm like.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously within software development, you've got front end and back end. I would say that at the moment, and historically, back end development specifically within software development is much more sought upon because the industry, if you're a company, for example, front end developers are there to maybe make things look nice and be a bit fancier or flow a little bit better. The market's still in the mindset things need to function first rather than look nice. So that's a market thing, and I think that will change over the coming years. But if you're a back end developer and you can make something work, then that's the priority.
So Java developers are.
So I think we have only 5 minutes to go. I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. We need to do something practical. Can we have somebody's CV so that you can scrutinize it? I think, can we use your system? Just connect it so that we can.
No, she has.
No, so that everybody can see it. It will be good that everybody can see it on the screen. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I can send through. I've got a presentation, a CV presentation. I don't have access to it just now, but I can send you that.
If you can send it to my mail, I can open my email here.
I don't have it on my. It's on my computer on my system. I don't have access to it.
Okay.
But I can send you it after.
Okay.
Because I did a presentation 2 months ago.
That's fine. So I just wanted to, let's use your own system so that she can explain all of that. Does that work?
Yeah, I think this is the HTML. Yes.
As a draft.
Are we enjoying the class? Are we enjoying it?
Draft.
Are we enjoying it?
I was even going to ask.
Yes, we've done a lot more.
use Java.
No
I'm
problem.
familiar with Java because Java is
Is that what you want to
So we have 3 minutes to go. 3 minutes. Thank you, Jack. You can enjoy your time.
Okay.
Okay, there are several security lists. Just go from there.
I had to take some things out. I was just
Don't
basis.
go standing on
It
it.
took me time to study it, to understand the basis.
Why don't you show this one that you already have?
Because you want everybody to
It
see.
wants it on
So that it's better to see on the screen than
No, I'm saying like this version, this one, like this
Can I be
blue
looking at
one.
it?
Fail.
So please, Jack, just criticize DCB. Don't look at her fine face. I want you to look
That's
as
a
if,
drop, but it's
yeah. So please criticize this. Look as if you are the startup that's really there. Look as if that you are the one CEO of Fanduel. Criticize it. Put her on her toes so that everybody can learn.
CCV. Wow.
So the first thing, like the layout of it is really good. It's clear, which is a kind of really good thing. One thing I would always say in your kind of opening professional summary and statement is specifically what you're looking for. So I'm looking for a cybersecurity